I have a couple things that I want to go over
Okay,
with
really
you.
quick, I just want to make triple sure. All right,
Yeah.
because you sound like you're a streamer because you're
Yes.
like talking about my levels. Are you streaming on Twitch right now?
No, I am not. I am streaming on YouTube. I
Okay,
almost
cool.
made that mistake though.
Okay, cool. Because yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, go ahead.
Cool. So, I just have like a couple things that I want to talk about. I'm gonna go through them one by one just so we can make this efficient. So I'm gonna send you a clip on in messages. Um, assuming they're open. Yep. All right. So in this clip, you say something to the effect of, you think like trans positions are great, but that certain trans people and trans activists take it too far by trying to introduce LGBTQ education in like elementary schools that discuss like sex ed, that kind of stuff.
Okay, let me hear the exact
Yeah.
wording of what I
Yeah. Do
said.
we want to if you give me a countdown, we can watch it at the same time.
Yeah,
All right.
I have it open.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Things we can generally look at a lot of fucking parents who are generally pro LGBT, right? Like they generally are just like, you can do whatever you want, but they get really freaked out when they hear the talking points from people on the right that are talking about, they're teaching kids to be trans in schools and they're confusing kids and shit like that. And instead of saying, oh, well, yeah, I think that like those things are obviously bad and we should disavow those things 100%. People will instead just go full fledged into it and say like, yeah, no, that shit's base. They should be talking to kids as young as 4 about like their genitalia in public schools, right?
They
And
do
at that
anyway.
point,
Cool. Are you finished?
okay, so I will specify. I'm specifically talking about people's reactions to talking points, right? This is not a belief that I have. Like I work in education. I don't think that like people are trying to like force children to be trans or anything like that. But there is a narrative out there that this is happening.
Okay.
And while I don't think that it is, right? The idea that we would like sit there and defend some of like the craziest talking points that the right is putting out there, like they're trying to like talk about like how to have sex with 4-year-olds when that's not happening. Like there's no reason to
Yeah.
defend it. Just say it's bad and like it's not happening. So
So what you did not say was or rather you didn't say teaching them how to have sex. You said talking about genitalia.
genitalia.
All right. So I'm because I have my DMs open with you. I'm gonna send you a study. Okay. All right. So
Hold on. Lay out the argument first
yeah.
because we
So
might not disagree.
so it's called 3 decades of research: the case for comprehensive sex education. So, purpose. School-based sex education plays a vital role in the sexual health and well-being of young people. Little is known, however, about the effectiveness of efforts beyond pregnancy and sexually transmitted disease prevention. The authors conducted a systemic literature review of 3 decades of research on school-based programs to find evidence for the effectiveness of comprehensive sex education. I'll go down to the results. Outcomes include appreciation of sexual diversity, dating and intimate partner violence prevention, development of healthy relationships, prevention of child sex abuse, improved social emotional learning, and increased media literacy. Substantial evidence supports sex education beginning in elementary school that is scaffolded and or longer duration, as well as LGBTQ inclusive education across the school curriculum and a social justice approach to healthy sexuality. You catch all that?
I did.
Cool. So
Which part of
actually,
that do you think
it
I
seems to
disagree with?
be that the trans activists that you like are saying are playing into the right, maybe they actually have a point because it
Okay,
seems
that
to
didn't.
me
You realize that didn't like address what I said at all, right?
it literally does because what you said was that it's
Hold on.
yeah.
Can you say? Okay, you sent me the study.
Yes, I
Okay,
sent
cool.
you the study, full text.
Okay, I want to see something
Yes.
because I'm not going to disagree. As someone that works in education that knows a lot about like how to like talk to kids about all sorts of different topics, right? There are like different ways that you talk to different age levels. Do you agree with this?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, so like for instance, we're not going to be talking about syphilis and intervaginal sex with 4-year-olds. Yes.
But you would be talking about genitalia, yes?
in the most vague of terms. And by this, I would mean like sex ed for like 4-year-olds would be like, if an adult touches you in your private parts, then you like should tell another adult, right?
Yeah,
Like
so
that
that's
is sex
part of it.
education. Yeah,
But you know
and I
what
don't
else it
agree with
says?
that.
What
But
else does it
that's
say? It says, as well as LGBTQ inclusive education across the school curriculum.
oh, okay. Like, at what age are we talking about what
Elementary
things?
school.
That's
It says
no.
so right in the study.
What I'm trying to ask is, at what age are we talking about which things? Because the right wing talking points are going to be like they're talking about like how to have anal sex with like third graders.
But no, hold
And
on.
I
That's
don't
not what you said, though. That's not what you said. What you said is that it was bad optics for trans people to like say that it's based to talk about trans issues to elementary schoolers. And what you mentioned was
okay.
not
I'm going to
having.
listen to the clip again really quick. Okay.
Yeah, all right. Hold on. Let me bring it up as well so that my
These
audience
things.
can
We can
also
generally
hear this. All right?
okay.
Uh
3, oh,
yep, 3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
Go.
These things. We can generally look at a lot of fucking parents who are generally pro LGBT, right? Like they generally are just like, you can do whatever you want, but they get really freaked out when they hear the talking points from people on the right that are talking about, they're teaching kids to be trans in schools and they're confusing kids and shit like that. And instead of saying, oh, well, yeah, I think that like those things are obviously bad and we should disavow those things.
Yep.
Okay. So do you think that they're teaching kids to be trans in schools?
No, but that's not what
Should
you
they?
went on to.
No, that's literally what I'm saying right
Hey,
here.
are you going to listen to
So,
the rest of the clip?
okay,
Because
we'll
what
listen to the
you
rest of the clip.
specifically said in the rest of the clip was that an example of trans activists being bad was trying to get elementary schoolers, 4-year-olds, to learn about genitalia. That was your example of trans activists supposedly playing in to the right-wing narrative.
So I understand that, right? That's why I paused the clip.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that the right wing talking points, I don't know like what your media bubble is, right? But if you ever hear the right wing like talking points, they're talking about like teaching fucking kindergartners about their fucking labia and then like telling like little boys in kindergarten that they can go around and like change their sex and their genitalia, and if they like the way that a pussy looks, then they can just have a pussy themselves. Obviously this is something that we shouldn't defend because that's not something that's happening.
But that's not
what I'm
you
saying.
gave as an example of trans activists playing.
I said talking about their genitalia.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I didn't
and
go
that
into
would
like ultra
include-
deep detail, but if you're not actually interested in my like position, then why are you talking to me?
I just want you to clarify. So you agree then that comprehensive sex education is like a good thing, that we should actually teach people as young as 4 about trans people, that like it's a normal thing to be. We should talk to them about like sexual abuse and that kind of stuff, and that this is actually a good thing to be pushing for and not something that trans activists should be maligned for pushing for.
You're fundamentally not understanding what I'm saying in the
Well,
clip.
I'm
okay?
asking you to clarify. I'm asking you to clarify. This is your chance to clarify.
What I'm
Sondsol.
saying is I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but what you're saying is not what I'm like trying to lay out in the clip.
Okay, it's not what you meant, but now you've clarified, so you agree.
It's not even what I'm laying out in the clip.
Well, I mean, it's not what
because what I specifically said was there are narratives that scare the fuck out of people that aren't true, right? Because I don't think that people are like defending, or I don't think that people are like going out and trying to entrans like the youth of America, right? This is obviously fucking crazy. No one's doing this, right? I work in education. I don't fucking see it. But there are people who will like go out there and say, well, so what? If they are telling kids that they can be trans and they are telling kids that, like what a vulva is at fucking 4 years old, then that's like fine because they need to learn about these things. And the earlier, the better. That sort of fucking rhetoric does not like endear trans people to, like the broader public. And while I don't think that the majority of trans people like believe that, there are people who will 1000% sit there and die on the hill that like, yes, we should be talking to kids about like intravaginal sex because they're too scared to like concede any fucking talking point whatsoever to the right that they'll sit there and they'll defend the indefensible.
Do you
That's what
have
I'm speaking to.
one example of this ever?
Fucking Twitter. I
Fucking
didn't know that.
Twitter. Okay, so
I
let's take the two people
hold
that you
on really
mentioned,
quick.
Demon Mama and Keffels. Can you find a single clip of either Demon Mama or Keffels saying that we should teach children as young as 4-year-old how to have sex with one another? Not like about like sexual abuse, but having sex with one another. Can you find a single clip of that happening?
How are you jumping from me saying trans activists in general, or like trans like positive people, to like specifically those two?
Because
The
you gave
critique,
them
well, I'm telling you right now, the critique that I had of poly people, mind you, not Keffels,
sorry,
and
poly
this one,
people. My
yeah,
bad.
my critique of them was their language around the trans genocide stuff on this one. All
Okay.
right. Now, in general, I think that, and the reason that I bring this up is because what we're talking about is like the general rhetoric that activists put out. And if we have people that are going out there and like dying on the most indefensible fucking hills possible, like saying that there is a trans genocide that's not going to like
we'll get to that
get
one.
okay.
I just want to like make sure that you understand that like if that was really the point you were trying to make, the example you gave was bad, because actually it's true that
It's just
as
because
young
you're
as
not understanding the words that I'm saying, because I just
no,
said
what
that
I'm going off of what the clip did. Like maybe you meant to say something else, but what you said is still what you said. Like you can't back away from that. You can just clarify that actually what you meant is that you don't want trans activists to defend like teaching children how to have sex with one another, right?
I thought that was like pretty like apparent
Well,
from like what I
that's
said.
not
I think
what you
that the
said. But
average
you and
Sure. I think that the average person who's like listening to a conversation between two people would like sit there and like be so ultra like ass mad that I didn't like specifically speak to like um the exact grievance. Like I think that they can get the idea of what my
no,
grievance
I
is
actually
from
don't
that.
think so, because I think like what happens here is that like people like you who try
Hmm.
to like police trans activism for like and like optics frog over trans activism so much. What they end up doing is they try to say that even like very well researched things that look bad to the public are things that trans people should shy away from talking about simply because they look bad. And that like this seems like you were giving that as an example, because you did not say teaching children to have sex with each other. You said teaching children about genitalia, which is
Can
supported
I
by the
can I
research.
just clarify what you think my position is? So do you think that the way that I'm policing language is to make it to where because in your view trans people aren't doing anything that would make them look bad in like the broader population? I'm telling them they do look bad and therefore they need to stop. Is that what your position or your view of what I am is?
I mean, that's literally what you've been doing, is saying that certain trans activists are bad for the movement and that they should have different rhetoric. Like even
So
your
let me ask you
revised
this.
position, hey,
So let me ask you this. So if you think that I'm saying this and that like obviously these things don't actually move people's opinions, people don't think that this is a bad position to have and it's not making people hate trans people anymore, then why do we see so many people using these like interactions on online, using these using like the worst representatives of the group to represent the entire group as like crazy screeching like groomers? Why is the narrative of trans people being groomers so prevalent in the United
why
States?
is it so prevalent? So there's a couple reasons for that. Uh,
Does it have anything to do with like, like people come like saying things maybe on TikTok or on Twitter that might not be like the like smartest thing to say in the climate that we're in right now?
no, I actually think that that's a very small, like that's a very negligible part of it, because I think that
Even with libs of TikTok
yes, even with libs of TikTok, because libs of
going on
TikTok would
Tucker
be
Carlson and
yes, they would find anything to make a big deal out of. And this is like actually why I'm talking about this at all, is because your example of if I came up here as like a sex education professional and said, hey, we should have sex education for people as young as 4 that includes LGBTQ inclusive stuff and like discussions of your body, how would that get spun by libs of TikTok and Tucker Carlson? It would be spun as them trying to groom children. That's how they would spin it. It doesn't, like, the actual severity matters very little as opposed to the right-wing framing of it.
So why, okay, when you, I guess, like, what do you, I'm trying to figure out which direction to like even go
So,
with
well,
what you just said.
can you just like admit that you were wrong about what you were saying, and that that is actually
It's
good to
literally-
teach kids as young as 4 about sex education, including their body?
Not in the way that you're phrasing it, no.
What do you mean not in the way that I'm phrasing it? It is
Because when
important.
you talk, okay, this is the exact reason. You're doing the exact thing that I'm criticizing in the clip. So that when we talk about like giving sex education to fucking children as young as fucking 4, what we mean by that is obviously we're telling kids how not to get fucking raped. We're telling them like what they should do if a person does touch them inappropriately. Right? We're telling like that's what sex education is for.
And what would that include? That would include what, Sondsol?
It would be like, don't let people touch your private parts.
Yeah, what, your private parts. So it would be discussions about genitalia.
Okay, do you think that that is the smartest way to fucking frame any fucking conversation around 4-year-olds?
Okay, so
and sex.
So you were so what you're saying is that you were lying earlier when you were just talking about like this hypothetical trans activist who like wants to teach kids to have sex with one another. You're saying it is actually bad optics to talk about comprehensive sex education in terms of teaching children about their bodies. Like
Holy shit. You're so unbelievably like I don't know how you're not understanding this. I'm saying that there are different ways to phrase the exact same position. We are holding the exact same position, but the way that you're phrasing it, right? That we are going to teach children about their bodies and their genitalia as young as 4 is the worst fucking way to fucking phrase that you're going to teach children about sex ed. When I talk about it, obviously, like in the vaguest terms, we're going to like be referencing their private parts. But if you're going to go out in public as a trans activist who is going to be saying this is the sort of sex ed we should be teaching children, all right, I think that at fucking kindergarten we should be telling children what their genitalia does and like when like they get touched on their little peepees and vaginas that they should tell an adult, right? And we should tell them all about like what it means to be LGBT and talk about their genitalia. Like this right here is the fucking phrasing, while you might be correct on a technical level, because what we're trying to speak to is the exact same thing, telling kids information so they don't get fucking raped more, right? What you're saying and the way that you're phrasing it is the fucking scariest thing in the entire world for a parent.
Yeah, the way I'm phrasing it as like your scary phrasing is that we should teach children about their bodies and to tell an adult when they've been touched. That's the scary framing.
That's not scary.
That's
framing.
what you proposed as the scary framing like 5 seconds ago.
No, the scary framing is what you're saying. Teaching children about their bodies.
Yeah, teaching children about their bodies such that they can notify adults when they have been touched. Also, just to be clear, in your clip, you did not criticize the way that trans activists frame this issue. What you criticized was the position itself. You said that
they're defending the worst framing of the argument.
That's not what you said. You said, like, what you said was that it was bad for them to be talking about, like, sex education for people as young as 4. That was what you said. Sure, you used a bad framing, but you didn't clarify that, that the, trans people, like the trans activists, were doing badly in lieu of, or in virtue of using that bad framing. You made it sound like it was because of the content itself.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that that's the way that you feel. Is there any other top parts of this that you want to talk about? Like, I don't know how else to fucking explain it to you.
What do you mean,
I don't think
dude?
that
It's just what you said in the clip.
No, you're intentionally not understanding what I'm saying, either in the clip or here.
You're flip.
I gave you an expand. No, I'm not. There's
So
no.
just to be
I've
clear,
literally
like, so
had this
how you
exact
started
position
this,
for the past
hey,
year.
Sondsol. So how you started this conversation was that you said that actually you weren't talking about trans people who just wanted comprehensive sex education. You were talking about trans like activists who want to teach children to have sex with one another. But see how like we've shifted over this conversation to the point where now you're talking about how they talk about comprehensive sex education and not some like hypothetical trans activist who is telling children that it's great to have sex with one another. Like, do you notice how you've shifted?
Do you know what the difference is between like a short tangential like reference to something and someone's like full position?
Dude, like this is internal to the conversation. I'm saying you have shifted over the course of this conversation from
No, I haven't.
yes, you have, dude. Like you earlier, what you said was
okay.
that
So what was my position at the beginning of
your
this conversation?
position at the beginning was that this clip was not about people who just want who like are trying to talk about genitalia or like any kind of phrasing. What you said was that earlier, you sorry.
Can I clarify just for that part? So
No, I'm not letting you like rewrite history on this.
I'm not rewriting history.
Yes,
I'm
you
asking
are.
you.
So
okay,
what you
the
said.
first position that you're saying that I had was that I wasn't talking about anything to do with genitalia, or that they shouldn't be talking about genitalia. And is that correct?
What
so
you
far?
said earlier in the conversation was that you thought, like, or rather, that when you were making that statement, and in fact, you were saying it was so obvious that when you were making that statement, you were actually talking about the radical trans activists who want to, like, teach children to have sex with one another. That's what you said the conversation or that your comment was about, and that anybody with a brain would be able to see that that's what your comment was about. And yet now we're at the point where you're saying that actually your comment was about how trans activists frame comprehensive sex education, and that it's scary for them to talk about children, so like knowing their bodies and like knowing when to talk to an adult that about when they've been touched. So you've shifted, demonstrably so.
Okay. At no point in this was I talking about like trans activists themselves teaching.
No, what they've been advocating for. I didn't.
No, not even that they've been advocating for. It's what they're defending, even though they don't believe it.
That's not at all what you've said.
They are defending a straw man from the right.
Yeah, and the straw man that they are supposedly defending is the idea that so like that's what I'm saying though, is that earlier in the conversation, you said that the straw man from the right that they were defending was specifically teachers telling 4-year-olds how to have sex with one another. But now what you're saying is that the framing that is the straw man and not the content. The framing of children knowing their bodies and to tell an adult when they've been touched.
I don't think that I've like backed off of like the content aspect either. Well, I think it's both.
We'll leave that question for the historians, Sondsol. We'll leave that question for the historians.
The ultimate point that I'm trying to get across is when there is a straw man of a position, you don't have to fucking defend that straw man. And it's kind of like how Demon Mama will like defend the concept.
And what you've said over the course of this conversation, what you've said is that the straw man at first was trans, like or rather teachers teaching children to have sex with one another, and now you're saying the straw man from the right is actually talking about comprehensive sex education the wrong way. And to be clear, what you mean by the wrong way is making sure children know their bodies and know to tell an adult when they've been touched inappropriately. Like that's the.
I'm actually baffled. Holy fucking shit. You got it. my entire position on this, like, you found me out. You're the only person
Yeah.
that's figured this out about
Oh,
me.
I'm not saying you're doing this intentionally. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
that
no,
like
you found me
you're
out.
weaseling your way.
You've actually made me out myself as someone who wants trans people to go around and advocate for the actual worst position because I just want more kids to get raped by trans people. You so got it.
What?
I want the actual worst thing in the entire world. I want more trans people to get hurt. I want more trans people to be outed as like the sex criminals they want, or that the right wants them to be. Is that what you think my position is, really, actually?
Is that what I said your position was, Sondsol?
It's absolutely the implication of what
Is
your
that what I
position
said?
is.
Oh my god. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave this question to the historians. I think I've
Did I make
exhausted
you
the
tired?
No, I've just exhausted the amount of use I'm
Did you
willing to get
get
out
the
of this
clips that you want?
conversation. I think that uh to any sensible person watching, it's obvious what your end game here is. So I will be taking my leave. Have a good rest of your stream. All right. That was fun.